What's going on, guys? Today we've got a build that I loved in the first Remnant, and that is of course the maximum crit build, which featured the radiant armor set and any full auto weapon. Now today we're going to showcase off this build in its entirety. It's carried me through nightmare difficulty with ease, which is my preferred difficulty. Now remember guys, this is a game and the goal is to have fun with it. Now the first thing we're going to look at is our classes, and of course we're using the classic Hunter Gunslinger, or Hugs for short. Alright, for our two archetypes we have the Hunter as the primary, using the Hunter's Mark skill, and of course the Gunslinger secondary, using the Bullet Storm skill. This class is going to fully utilize the maximum damage from our guns and gear with extra damage and a faster fire rate. Now as far as our armor set goes, there's no stat bonuses like in the first one, so we're wherever we like. I have a combination of Radiant and Red Widow set, so I can have some protection while keeping my medium roll. The relic slot is again up to you. I like the enlarged heart for an instant heal, at the cost of having half my charges taken away. But the Void and Crystal Hearts are my two other favorites if you want to try those. Now for the weaponry, and this is where the build starts to get very specific. And the three relics we're going to use is the ranged crit chance, crit damage, and regular base damage. If you don't have Mythic, just use whatever is closest to this. But if you're curious, you can start getting Mythics to drop once your archetype level hits about 78. Mine's about 80 here, and you can raise this by leveling up the other archetypes as much as possible. For your primary weapon, you have three good choices: the Chicago Typewriter, the Black Maw AR-47, and the Bone Saw LMG. This is going to come down to preference. The Bone Saw LMG is probably going to do a little bit more damage, but you have to deal with the overheating, which most people don't like. The Chicago Typewriter is a good middle ground between the two, and the Black Maw AR has the smoothest recoil and smallest spread. You really can't go wrong with either of these. Now for the mods, we're going to use the Momentum mod. This is going to increase our crit chance, much like the Radiant set did in the first game. And we're actually going to be using corrosive rounds over Hotshot. The main difference is corrosive rounds increase our crit chance, whereas Hotshot rounds just increase our base damage. For your melee weapon, you can use whatever you want, since we're not going to be really using melee that much. I do like the Spectral Blade, however, though. Your secondary, much like your melee weapon, is up to you. However, I do have two very good options for this build. The first one being Sorrow, which is the mini crossbow, and the second one being the SMG that you can actually get in Ward 13. For our amulet, we've got the Ankh of Power. If you don't have this yet, and this actually drops in the final biome, a good second choice would be the Gunslinger amulet, which you can get right away by talking to Reggie and listening to all his stories. Now, Remnant 2 has something silly like 150 plus rings, so you might not have everything that we have in this build, but we have some good alternatives if you're missing what we have. The first ring is the Stone of Expanse. This increases our range damage by 12%, reducing all of their damage by 6%. And then the Stone of Balance is just a good flat plus 7% damage. The ring that really makes this build work is the Probability Cord. This increases crit damage by 30%. And finally we have Faerun's Sigil, which increases mod generation by 10% whenever we hit a critical or a weak point. Some good alternatives that I like to use are the Compulsion Loop is very good when you're trying to kill mobs, but kind of falls off if you're fighting a boss that doesn't summon adds. I like the Wax Sealed Ring as another alternative to that. Zanya's Malice is very good if you're hitting constant weak points. And the Vestige of Power is another one that I really enjoy. As for the traits, we're going to have Longshot and Reserves maxed out because of our classes. The rest of the points I put into Vigor and Endurance, Spirit and Expertise, so we have maximum chance of mods and skill use cooldowns. Footwork and Handling are both very good for this class since we're going to be strafing a lot and using a full auto weapon. The last 10 points are kind of up to you. This is what is going to make the most sense for you as a player. I like Bloodstream and Glutton. This mix 50-50 for a faster relic use speed and to boost the grayscale health. Now let's take this to the range and see what kind of numbers we can get. With no buffs at all and just cleaning up the trash mobs, we're looking at about 2500 to 2600 damage with the Chicago Typewriter. Now keep in mind this build is super forgiving. With the insane fire rate, it's alright if you're missing some shots. It's not going to be as detrimental as using like a sniper rifle where you're going to miss a shot, have to rechamber, reload, all that. You know how it is. Now with all our buffs active, we're easily hitting 4k damage. Plus the damage over time from the corrosive rounds. This thing can melt any boss you're struggling with. Alright, that's going to do it for the video. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Peace.